All right, go right ahead.
Hello? Hello? Can you hear me okay?
Who are you?
Barry, my name is Pete Murphy. And I am so glad, thank you. I am so glad to see this room full of people. Welcome to the 61st/62nd Annual Founders Day. We're going to call it a Founders Day and a half because we didn't get to have one last year. This is a really, really nice facility. We're going to break this dude in. It's really nice. Give us some feedback if you like it. If you don't, let us know that too. Really quick, housekeeping. You should have little slips of paper, maybe pink or yellow, and maybe you don't have any. If you've got one, you need to put it in front of your plate right now because the servers are going to be carrying food out. If you have pink, you're getting pork chops, and if you've got a yellow one, you're getting vegetarian, and if you don't have one at all, they're going to give you chicken, so just so you know. So if you want to trade with somebody real quick, you can still do that, or some degrees on your meal. I'm going to call Joe Gaffney, Brother Joe Gaffney, up here to give our invitation. I will say that you can go ahead and start eating. We're skipping. I'm changing the order just a little. I'm going to get our invocation done so people can start eating. Not that Joel's any more important than Dr. Davis.
Y'all would bow your heads with me. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you that you would let us gather here tonight and that you brought everyone here safely. And I pray that you would bless this food to the nourishment of our bodies and that we would have a good night and you would be with us throughout it and watch over us as we go back home. In your son's name I pray. Amen.
Okay. Start eating whenever you want. It is now my honor to introduce a guest of ours tonight, Dr. Kelly Dampus. In my years since I started going to school here 37 years ago, I don't know that we've had, or maybe prior to that, had somebody that has been as connected to the students of this campus like Dr. Dampus has. And I'm not just saying that to suck up, well, maybe I am just a little. He makes appearances everywhere. You see him all over campus, you see him all over Jonesboro. As a matter of fact, he's got somewhere to be tonight, so he's only going to be able to stay with us for a few minutes, but he wanted to come up and share a few words with us. And then he's off to another engagement. And so if you want to know where he's going next, just look on your Facebook feed for selfies. I saw him in the back room. He already took a couple tonight before he even got in the door. So thank you very much, sir.
I appreciate that. It was so great. I heard someone say, I think Pete said it when I first walked in, how great it is to see everyone here. I promise you that none of us want to be wearing these masks any more than we have to. And it's been remarkable how well we as a campus have come together and followed our return to learn plan, our return to work plan. It's allowed us, the last 2 days in a row now, we've had 0 students on campus who have been in isolation. It's the first time since July. So I want to give a reminder for the students. One of the last times I was in this room was actually April 1st. It was right after the March 28th tornado. The governor was in town and he came to speak to the community, and it was a different deal. We had to have, the whole ballroom was opened up. Craig is over here, our general manager here, had to open the whole place up and spread everybody out. And it's amazing when I come back in this room, I think about that time and talk with him about how resilient we all are because we've worked our way through the tornado and we're working our way through COVID-19. And it is now amazing to look back as 13 months ago, how much things have changed, how challenging this year has been. So thank you all for your diligence and your hard work. I know classes were harder than ever. I taught a class in the fall, and I actually taught it in First National Bank Arena because we moved into some classrooms that were non-traditional classrooms. And it was hard to teach, it was hard to learn, it's hard to do most anything. It's awfully hard to do the things that students want to do when they're not in the classroom. And that's engage with each other through fraternities, through sororities, or other organizations that they're part of. And I know this was hard for you all as well. It's hard to recruit young men into your fraternity. It's hard to maintain social gatherings the way you want to. And I'm sure you got chewed up by somebody at some point because you weren't wearing a mask at the right time you should have been. And that was hard too. So I want to acknowledge how difficult that year was for you all as well. But I also want to acknowledge something else. I know there are some seniors here who will be graduating, and you all had the hardest year ever. So if you're a senior, will you stand up so we can say thank you to you? If you're a senior, there you are right there. Congratulations to you all. Very proud of you. Finally, I want to thank our alumni who are here, who are supporting this event tonight, and especially our sponsors who do really important work. Kevin, I'm really proud of you for everything you do to help make sure our young men have every opportunity they can to be successful. So thank you for your leadership. Thank you, alumni, for being here. There's a long and rich history of Lambda Chi on our campus. It dates back to around the Korean War era. That's a rich legacy for you young men to be able to look up to these more seasoned gentlemen and see what they've accomplished. And I'll tell you, I was sitting in the back room, and I got a selfie with Rob, and because he and I had known each other for 4 years ago, I got a selfie together, so he wanted a selfie, so we got one. And he was talking about what he learned from Mr. Truman, or Mr. Moore, which was the ability to get up in front of a group and to speak and parliamentary procedures, the things that you learn as being part of a fraternity or a sorority, or the things that will stick with you for life. Things you can't put very easily on a resume, but they're the things that will stick with you for a long time. You're learning tremendous leadership skills, and I'm grateful for the opportunity that our state provides for our students to have that chance to learn and to develop, to learn more about each other, and to make friends here in ways you never would. These gentlemen and their spouses up here will attest to you, and I tell college freshmen that all the time, that your high school, you'll think you'll be friends with your high school buddies forever, but after your freshman year, you'll hardly remember who they are and what their name is, but your college friends are forever. These are the people who will be in your wedding party, that will be there at reunions, and will be at events like this. And this is a special time for us, so thank you so much for inviting me to say a few words to welcome Roy, and congratulations on finishing a great year, for being able to gather here. If you all hadn't done what you did, we wouldn't be able to do this today, so thank you so much for doing that. All right, I do have to go. I have a concert. Everyone's doing everything differently. So the choir is presenting a concert, a musical outdoors today. And so they don't have to wear masks, and they're presenting outdoors. They were worried about the weather, so they moved it up an hour. So we have to run over there and watch that as well. I do want to acknowledge my wife. Beth, you stand up for a second. Thank you. There's my wife, Beth. You know, for the past year, she was locked up in our house. She couldn't do anything. And so she's getting a little cabin fever. So she's excited. We've been having students over our house the past week. It's been fantastic. So you all have a great evening. Thank you so much.
They should have sent it to the editor, or to me at least.
Okay, could I have your attention, please? We'll get started with our program. We've been trying to do this for more than a year, and we finally are here. And the first thing I'm going to do is introduce the alumni who are here. And I'm going to introduce them in reverse order according to their Zeta numbers. I'm going to start with the highest ones first and ask everybody, every alumnus to stand up and remain standing until we finish. And then if you would give me a round of applause. That way the ones with the lowest numbers won't have to stand quite as long. Is Lucas Moy here? Lucas didn't make it. Okay, Krishna? Krishna didn't make it either. Well,
They're lost.
the next alum on the list is Josh Bennett. Josh is here, I know. Josh, stand up. And his wife, Morgan. Stand up, Morgan. The ladies can sit down after they've been introduced, but I wanted especially to recognize Josh and Morgan because they're newlyweds of 2 weeks, right? Josh is 1481, and we are now up to 1626. We take a jump after that down to Kevin Boulder. Stand up, Kevin. Kevin's 855. He's our high pie, and he's also sheriff of Poinsett County. That's where we come to. We have to have a law enforcement officer as a high pie. Jeff Wicker, 843, and his wife Debbie. Over to the end, we'll make it along a little faster. Robert Odell, 723. Tommy Fowler, 808, District Judge. Pete Murphy, 710, and his wife Sarah. Jeff Stotts, 681, and his wife Karen. Barry Forrest, 551, and his wife Dana. Barry is president of the House Corporation, the Alumni Corporation, which is a sponsor of this event. Wayne Wiggins, 537, and his wife Tony. Curtis Bastard, 483. Mike Dinsmore, 323. Mike Mallory, 305. Buster Griggs, 259. Bill Garrison, 257. Wendell Stratton, 253. Those are three members of the Dirty Dozen. As they were called. John Phelps, 245, and his wife Diane. A.T. Moore, 244. Archie Fleming, 239. Best sax player on Beale Street that you've ever heard. Jim Albright, 236.
Years ago for us.
And that's 4 members of that class who are here. That's the largest class I think we got here other than the current ones. I'm Roy Oper, 203, and my wife Pat. My pledge brother, Elbert Frazier, 195, and his wife Maria. I'm really glad the next 2 guys are here because that means I'm not the oldest. Bob Gibson, 176. Warren Dupuy, 139. Warren was high here for 20 years. Can you imagine that, Kevin? He's also an Order of Merit recipient, which is the highest award that Lambda Chi Alpha International gives. It's good to have all these alumni here. I want to call your attention, though, to the back page of your program. And on that is listed Omega. Brothers who have passed away since our last founding days, 2 years ago. And all of us, especially alumni, and maybe some actors too, remember some of the men on this list, because we knew them well, and we miss them here tonight. And too many of them are founders of this organization, and that's what we're here tonight, is to recognize the founding of the organization. So just take a moment to remember some of those folks. Since we tried to have this event a year ago, we've even lost more. Also, we've got too many actors here to introduce all of them, but I want to do something to recognize, to let some of these stand out. For the actives, and let's talk about the dates too, let's include those. If you have a 4-point grade average overall, stand up. Anybody? And if you have a 3.5 or above, stand up. If you have a 3-point or above, stand up. We used to think that an overall grade point average for our chapter of 2.9 was good. These guys are over 3. Okay, it's my pleasure now to introduce the gentleman who will introduce our speaker. His name is John D. Phelps. He's one of the outstanding trial lawyers in America. And if you don't believe that, he'll tell you here. He is a former president of the American Board of Trial Advocates International. More importantly, I gave him his first taste of whiskey. Did so in order to show him the evils and how bad it was. Didn't work. So John, come on up and introduce our speaker.
I've spent all day today riding around with my place brother Archie Fleming, H.D. Moore, and I've had one question for him. Who's Boy Griggs? If anybody remember him. One of the things that you active members of the fraternity and you ladies are looking to learn tonight is that the friendships you have here as Scotty House said are real. And 50 years from now, as we are, you will see how truly real and touching they were. And that's why it's an honor for me to introduce Boy Griggs to you. Unlike Harry, Boyd, after he graduated, he was a ubiquitous member. And by that, I mean he was screwing around with everything. And like to talk about it. He was an artist, and he was a composer, and he was just a gadfly with everything. And you admired him. And then he graduated. And when he graduated, and after he got became the Sky Marshal, they were talking about within the DEA and became the most successful DEA member in America, as he says, and internationally. We lost contact with him. And this is a true story. In 2000, I was sitting at my desk on a Tuesday, and I had to be in Anchorage, Alaska on Thursday, place I'd never been. And all of a sudden, I got a phone call from somebody that introduced himself as Boyd Griggs, who was living in Anchorage, Alaska with his wife, Karen. And we talked for a few minutes. He said, "Well, I'd love to see you." I said, "I'll see you Thursday, 1 o'clock. So I flew up there, and this shows you how touchingly loving Boyd can be. And by the way, if you look on his website or his artwork, even he calls himself Buster. I never called him that because I thought it made him look short. And I've always called him Boyd. But anyway, so when I fly into Anchorage, Alaska, and he gets in his car and he's showing me around, it's a beautiful place. We were driving down next to the ocean. It was right next to the highway. You could have reached out and touched the water. Immediately to the left, where we were driving, was the highest, greatest, tallest mountain I'd ever seen, that close to the highway. It was a modern day thermometer. And I asked him a question. I know what you're going to take over, John, Gilbert Fraser will walk through this out, but, and I asked him a question, and I'll tell you what he said. I said, man, this is something, looking up the mountains. I said, I wonder how far we are above sea level. He said, well, there's the emotion. Ever since then, he goes around the world. I get this postcard from him. Postcard from Buenos Aires, elevation. Postcard from Paris, elevation. I thought that was a genuine question. I was trying to be patient. And I don't think he held it well. He came to my house one time after that, and I had my daughter Lauren, who in her teenage years, you ladies understand this, she likes to spend money on clothes and stuff like that. And I took her down to the Galleria in Texas, Dallas, and she was probably 15, I was 35 or something. And I bought a pair of cowboy boots, $500. I still understand cowboy boots. And that didn't bother me too much if they were red, because they had these little ostrich things sticking up on them. The sales lady said, you really like these. But when I got home, they were a size too low. So I got a $500 pair of red cowboy boots, and what are you going to do? Boy, Griggs came to my house, and I was telling him the story about how much I loved my daughter and how I bought these boots. He said, let me see them. He put them on and walked out, and I've never seen him since. He's a brother. If you look at it, and you want to look at his website for his paintings, and I'll have to acknowledge his paintings are super good. They're precise. They're the Western paintings. I don't know if you'll agree with this, of Lou L'Amour and Zane Grey and Teddy Roosevelt. They are perfect renditions of what real cowboys and real Indians and real West was like. And I think you can enjoy looking them up. Boyd Griggs is a successful person. He's a friend. He's a loving brother. I wanted to try to think of something special to say about his introduction, and quite naturally, I thought about Greece. 4 days ago in Athens, Greece, they celebrated the life and death of a man they admired. He gave his life and his fortune to the Grecian Revolution against the Ottoman Empire in 1824. And as those of you who are history majors like me, you recognize him as George Gordon, Lord Byron. And so I thought, surely a person who loved Greece as much as he did, surely a person who died for Greece, and since all of our Greek friends will be here tonight, must have written something appropriate for the introduction of somebody I admire and revere as much as Boyd Griggs. And I found 4 lines of his poetry. The first 2 are for my pledge class and pledge brothers. The 3rd line is for all of you active members. And the 4th line describes Boyd Griggs the way I best remember. So one night, as Lord Byron looked at the Parthenon lit up in the distance, he wrote, "Give me again a faithful few, in years and feelings still the same. And I shall sail a midnight cruise where boisterous boys may still remain." And he has done a lot of things, but to me, I introduce him the way I shall always remember him: boisterous boy, Boyd Griggs.
John? Thanks, John, for that stirring and heartfelt introduction. I appreciate that very much. Are you going to be staying, John? I know it's about your bedtime. Are you still driving at night? I'm sure your children will know that. But we're finally here. And is anybody out there as tired of this mask and COVID thing as I am? It's good to see some of my old friends from way back here that I have not seen in so many years. Noel Fraser, I apologize, I did not recognize you. I did remember the necktie though. It's good to see my old friend Warren Dupuy here, famous attorney, former advisor. I'm not sure how much advisors were over the years. Warren, it really makes me you're here also. Is it Wheel of Fortune on right now? Most of you, especially all the older ones, know Warren, but most of you probably do not know his wife, Mila, because she doesn't usually like to be seen publicly. Good to see you, Mila. Another Corning girl, if I may say so, one of the prettiest girls that graduated from Corning High School. About maybe 14, 15 months ago, I got an email from Roy saying, would you like to be the speaker at the Founders Day? And my wife happened to be in the room, and she says, well, I'm sure they got the right guy. Rodney Dangerfield is not available. He's dead, honey. But she said, well, it took 50 years to ask you. So I wrote back to Roy and said, Roy, I'd be honored to speak at Founders Day. Thank you very much. What would you like me to speak about? And Roy said, well, we think that it would be great, a lot of fun for the actors and the younger alums to kind of have a picture and know what Arkansas State was like in the 60s. I can do that. I may not know what I had for breakfast, but I can remember that in the 60s. So I can help you out. And anything else? Well, yeah, maybe some stories about your career fighting crime and evil and DPA. I'm not sure how many of those stories be appropriate to still I can tell, but I'll see what I can think of. He says, and one more thing, maybe you can give younger guys some advice for. Well, because these guys now have all this information at their fingertips that we didn't have. They got the internet thing, Google things, and Wikipedia things, and learn all this, and know about this stuff. I'll have to give that some deep thoughts. Anyway, I got to thinking about coming here and speaking about what things were like in the 60s, because John mentioned I graduated from Point High School in 1966, and it was that fall, came here to Arkansas State. And it was back in the era where I figured I'd go to college, but I really had no plans of doing so. I just figured I would do that. And my parents, who grew up during the Depression, did not get to go to college, couldn't do it. And so they had this small town mentality attitude about college. It was like, well, the boys just want to go down there and chase girls at all that age. They ain't really looking for no education. And then girls that come down there, well, they just looking for a husband. And Diane, I'm sorry that didn't work out as well for you as you expected. And there was another thing going on back then. This was during the Vietnam War, and so if you graduated and got out of high school in grade 18, you were going to be drafted to go to Vietnam unless you went to college. And because you had there was draft firms back then for 4 years to go to college, and so there was a lot of extra young men coming to college. And so I got to thinking about the concept of going to college, I think, it's like I want to get an education, but in retrospect, I'll have to admit, yeah, I really couldn't chase girls. Because I really didn't do too well with dating in high school. In my era, starting a date had to do basically with getting your driver's license so you can have a car and go dating. So when I turned 16, I got my driver's license. My dad came to me and he said, well, you take a driver's license, I guess you're going to start dating the girls. Yes, sir. We tried. So let me give you a little advice, son. He says, make sure you have extra gas money for the car, but you're going to have to go over to like Piggott or Perryville, or at least to the far side of the county, because you can't date the girls in Point. Why not, Dad? And he put his hand on my shoulder and said, son, the girls here at Point, You're laughing back there. My old back when we were in school, if I had known you had such low standards, I'd have called you. So, what are you laughing about, Larry Rhines? You were in the same decision. I would like to introduce my guest, by the way. My good friends, Larry Rhines and his wife Carolyn from Ashland, Arkansas. Larry and I were running buddies from junior high, high school, and college, along with another buddy, John Knight. Many of you from Jonesboro may remember Dr. John Knight, who left us at much too young of an age. His wife, Melinda, is here. Melinda, good to see you again. And we were all in the same boat, Larry and Johnny and I, and those girls and us. And if we'd ever give a date, girl, the other two would try to stick. And it's just what we did. This was cutthroat dating. I mean, it was full contact sport, and innocent as I was, it didn't mean things to me. You remember this. My parents had an old like white Pontiac, and Johnny's parents had a black Pontiac same year. And for some strange reason, Johnny's car key would fit my car. You may hear you're laughing. And it was, mine wouldn't fit his, but his would fit mine. And in a rare occasion, when I would have a date, especially with the movies, Larry, and I think a co-conspirator who has yet unindicted, would steal my car and hide it. I can't believe they did that to me. So, but they did. So anyway, we finally graduated. I think this competition ended up between me and you and Johnny at the end. It was like 0-0 on the girls. And Larry, I see you're sweating right now. I see you're sweating right now. Because Larry thinks I'm going to tell a story about a time when he and I double dated, and a success or something. He's looking, okay, Larry, I'm not going to do that, Larry. I'm not going to tell that story. I'm going to let you wait till you get home and tell Carolyn all about it, because I'm sure she'll be glad to hear it. I promise you, and I'm sure you will not be back. So, anyway, Larry and John and I graduated, and we come down to ASU, or it was ASC then. Actually, when did we become a university? What?
67.
It was early 67. Oh, they had a big celebration and everything. But like, fireworks and parties and stuff. And we go, wow, this is great. We're a university now. It's like, I wonder what that means. We didn't know what that means. But we're not just college boys now, we're a university now. I guess that's important. But the first thing that happened, as I remember, is we got checked into the dorms, and they called for a big assembly for all the freshmen held over at the field house. And they had several people speak about, here's what you do and you don't do, here's where you go, and here's what happens when. And there was one thing they told me that stuck with me. I didn't remember any of the stuff. The one thing they said was about, they couldn't do this now, but they said all of the girls who did not live at home with their parents had to stay in the dorm. And on weeknights, they had to be in that dorm at 8 p.m. Remember that time? Friday and Saturday, they could stay out till midnight, and Sunday, I think it was 10 o'clock, wasn't it, Diane? Yeah. What y'all do? Have Bible study? No, what is it? And so, the freshman boys were like, wait a minute. We were expecting this big crop of girls from the four-state area who did not know us. It's going to be great. Well, we were rather disappointed that these girls had to be in early. And I found out later that I think that it's this rule had to do with a federal statute. Or maybe you remember the short title of that statute that I think was called the Pregnancy Reduction Act of 1964. Well, we were here, especially the boys were here for a while, and we figured out really quickly that it really did not matter when those girls had to be in the dorm because they didn't want anything to do with us nerdy little freshmen. They were looking for all the sophisticated upperclassmen. That's who they wanted to go out with. Guys were nice clothes and penny loafers with no socks and had nice clothes. They didn't want anything to do with us because, well, we were nerds. There's no doubt we were geeks. And it was back at the time when we were still in the formative years of our life, when our heads were not quite grown out to meet where our ears were. And we were kind of like this. And we had necks back then. Now, these said necks were pretty much the size and shape of a Pringles potato chip can. And so we were pretty geeky. I know Sarah really more over there kind of giggling about this. But you had ears in a neck. It was like our shoulders and this our hip and our neck like this. Over the years, it was not like this. So now we don't want to have necks. And so Harry and I, for example, I was a short pencil-necked geek, and Harry was a tall pencil-necked geek, and that was about the only difference. Except there was one thing. Harry, being almost legally blind, had these big, heavy black glasses. Had real big, heavy glasses. That back during those days, we referred to those as birth control glasses. Because if you wear those glasses, no girls will well anyway. I understand they work pretty well, Harry. In fact, Harry and I were founding fathers of the Arkansas State Geek Squad. And I see some of you younger guys back there saying, well, that's a good thing, geeks. Well, no, wait, you're thinking of now, okay? You're thinking of, what is it, Best Buy, has little trucks with these guys who go out and they fix your computers and your electronics and things. Well, I'm gonna break it to you guys, you young guys. And please don't start crying because you feel sorry for us, but there were no computers. No computers. There might have been one computer, I think it was an IBM headquarters in California somewhere. It was the size of a city bus. And it had vacuum tubes that took about an hour to warm it up, and it would do just simple math. That's all it would do. And there's another thing that you young guys are going to be, probably going to really feel sad for us now, is that there were no cell phones. Sorry. They had no cell phones. And we did have phones. And if they had been invented, yes. This was 1966, not 1866. We had phones. And if you had, like John Bell said, if you had money, you could have a phone installed in your dormitory with you. It was mounted on the wall, hardwired, a weekly cord to a receiver. And you could make all the calls you wanted in Jonesboro because that was considered a local call, part of the bill. If you wanted to call home to Point, where that was a thing called long distance. And if you did that, it cost extra. Okay. And so you would make those calls at night or on the weekend. And when you would, what you do, you dial 0 and a blind person would answer from down here and somewhere in the basement of the building downtown, and this person was called an operator, and they replaced the call. But those of us who could not afford a phone in our room had used a payphone down at the end of the hall. And, you know, I'm just like, I don't know what the age group is. How many in this room have never used a payphone? Never used a payphone? Wow. That all really? Hey, John, did you see what Roy did? You couldn't see Roy. When I say question, you want to Roy. Now, you don't believe, no, you're shaking your head, you don't believe it, because Jesus always us, right? But think about this. Roy was being truthful because Roy's a journalist. He has, like you lawyers, he has to tell the truth. So Roy acknowledged that he had never used a payphone. I know you probably think that's not true, but think about this, John. To use a payphone, you had to put money in it. That's how we know Roy probably never used it. I think it also is. Well, you're supposed to be on track here. We're going to say, oh, yeah, something about very nice. It was pretty sad. Kind of Harry and I being so people. Harry and I could walk in any one of the women's door. And when we come through this front door, you could hear, never mind. What are you laughing about now? I remember you and Dinsmore got here. You two couldn't have got a date in the women's prison with this $400 bills. You're laughing at me here. But then, from out of nowhere, this beautiful and talented young lady showed up. From out of nowhere, well, actually not from nowhere, from Blythe, which is what, 8 miles from nowhere. And she agrees to go out with Harry for the morning. And we said, no, that's okay. These days we call it fake news. We said, no, that's not true. She's way too good looking. There's no way she's going to go out there for the morning. But it wasn't true. She met this girl. Somehow he knew this beautiful, talented young lady to, I wish she were here tonight, but she can't be. But anyway, she agreed to go out with Harry. And so some of the older boys took Harry aside and they got him a clean shirt that didn't have ketchup stains all over it. And made him polish his shoes. They got him a 75-cent haircut, a standard 50-cent haircut. And they sit him down and gave him some, well, I guess you call it etiquette lessons about what you don't say at the dinner table, things like that. Try to help him out. But it won't help. It won't help. This girl, it's obvious that her eyesight is bad as her judgment is, but she'll figure this out after she'll dump him like a pair of shoes. But she continued to go out. We couldn't figure out what was going to happen. Why did she keep going out with him? And she did. And we figured out that she was going Christian missionary work. And so, of course, the first thing we had to do because of this is we had to kick Harry out of the geek squad. Not that he wasn't still a nerd, he was a part of Harry, he was a nerd, but we had to kick him out of the geek squad because we had very strict standards, and not the least of which was that if you had more than 2 dates with the same girl who was not your sister, Mallory, you had to kick you out. I mean, this is the way it was. And so, well, we did. And so anyway, this continues, and they get dropped, they get pinned, and I get engaged, and we're trying to figure out what's going on. We figured out this beautiful, talented young lady who was also a Banquet, was very, she had this overwhelming desire to do Christian missionary work, and she was very conflicted. You could see it in her eyes. You could see this, and she was like, oh, what do I do? What do I do? Do I become a missionary to a third world country and live in a mud hut and get attacked by crocodiles? Or do I marry Harry Truman and try to make something out of him? Well, the rest is history. And that's the camera right there, Linda Lou, I wish you were here. Remember, I think it, Linda, I can speak for everybody in this room who knows of us Harry Truman Moore. And we, like I said, we're glad that you made the wrong decision. Made the wrong decision. Put it on, John. Anyway, what was it? Oh yeah, back to Arkansas State in the 60s. When I got down here, things were running, what's the word, flux, I guess, at LUX. It was a time when the cultural revolution that took place in America was kind of starting. And the girls here were wearing mini skirts. I like that. Of course, this has been going on around the country, California and other places for quite a few years. And this was one of the indications that why we always said it was really good to live in Arkansas, because when the end of the world comes, it might be 3 or 4 years before you know about it. And so during this time, they still had a bunch of the old rules that had not caught up with this so-called cultural revolution yet. For example, the girls going to the gym class could wear their gym shorts, but they had to wear a raincoat over, right? Now they could go to gym class, but they had to come back, they had to wear the raincoat, but they could go to the dorm and change into their mini skirt, which is shorter than their short shorts. And right? What was that? And so the guys, we were in kind of a situation like that because when we were in high school, remember that, if your hair was touching your ears, you got sent to the principal's office and he would send you to the barber shop because you're not putting up with that trashy looking. Yeah, that's the problem. And so when we got to the college, it was sort of like the Beatle haircuts where you could kind of do that. You have a little bit of hair. But it was still, the guys, it was very and boring. If you had a tie, it had to be about this white and black. That was it. That was the only tie you could have. Right? And then the shirts, the guys would wear white shirts, maybe a blue shirt. That's about it. If you really dressed up, little pinstripe, maybe pinstripe like I have now. Guys had to wear just plain black, brown, dark blue, or khaki pants. Leather shoes, that was it. You did not wear jeans to class. That was kind of a no-no, that was kind of tacky. You could wear jeans to like intramural things, as well as tennis shoes. Tennis shoes came in 2 colors, white and white. They did not have, back then, the racing stripes and the glow-in-the-dark greens and oranges and all of that. You got white tennis shoes, that was it. And if somebody had decided to take those white tennis shoes and paint them up like that, all the stripes, with wild colors, everybody would look at you like there's something wrong with you. And you would have been considered to be one of those, what they call a weirdo. And weirdos were not, they didn't get against the pledge of fraternities. Oh, Bill Harrison, I'm sorry, I didn't see you there, buddy. Maybe some of you know Bill Garrison. He was the ping pong champion of Lambda Chi. He was our Forrest Gump back in the 60s. Bill, good to see you. Glad you're here. There were some guys around who did wear jeans a lot. They wear, but even these guys, you can wear the jeans with holes in them. Good jeans. These guys would wear jeans and these engineer boots, I think they were called. And they would have a plain white t-shirt with the shoulder. They would have a pack of Lucky Strikes or Camel cigarette rolled up in their sleeve. These were guys that were, the term of the day was called hoodlums. Hoods. That's what they would call them. And they kind of wanted, they thought they were kind of bad. And they had duck-tailed haircuts. And they get this pomade. This is before mousse. Postpone mousse for your hair. They had this big pomade. I think was that what you used, John? Pomade. And they put this big kitty tube on the hair and comb it back like sat like this and into what was called a ducktail haircut. And it was called that because she came up behind him. It looked like a duck's butt right there. And black was a word you did not say back then. It was considered very big black. And several other words like you didn't say pregnant. Pregnant was not a proper word in Boston. You would say she was, but you didn't. Things have changed. I think you may have noticed that. But some of these so-called hoods, they were kind of wannabe bands. There were some of them that really were bad, switchblade knives. Some of these guys, the ones that had been to prison, you could tell who those guys were because those guys might have a tattoo. And sorority girls, like Diane, did not date a guy with a tattoo. Can you imagine if you dated Diane, if you dated a guy with a tattoo and you take him home to meet your mama and daddy? Your daddy had you on the first thing smoking head to a convent if you'd had to call him a guy with a tattoo. You kidding me? What was that? Oh, yeah. When I got to ASU, or ASC at the time, I didn't have much money. None of us did, a lot of us didn't. I still had my sign painting business that I carried over from high school. But I still needed more money because tuition back then was, I think, what was there, $450 for, it's less than, because $300 or $400 for tuition and room and board was like $350, $400. That was a lot of money. Is that what it was? That was a lot of money. I didn't have that kind of money. $300, you kidding me? So I qualified for a thing called a work study program. And it was kind of a boondoggle where you work around campus. And so I was assigned to work for a guy named Phil Pickle that I wish were here tonight, brother Phil Pickle. We graduated about a year or two before I got there, and Phil was like the number 3 man over at the student center. And so they sent me over to work for Phil and just doing odd jobs, just that in. And one day we found ourselves on the roof of the ring center because Phil wanted to get ahead of the game for a couple months later for Christmas decorations. And we drew up some stuff and got the things out of the plywood and we were making these decorations. I looked down in the yard in front of the student center and across the street. And there were these groups of people gathered around. They had chicken wire and there's timber boards and stuff. And I said, hey, Phil, what is this? What are these people doing? Well, they're doing homecoming displays. Never heard of it. He said, yeah, that's the fraternity story. He's doing homecoming displays. And he says, we're kind of done here. You're still on the clock. Go down there and help the Lambda guys. Okay. Because I knew nothing about fraternity. I never heard of it. I heard, I guess, of fraternities, but I thought fraternities were like all the big Ivy League schools were really rich guys partying all the time. And that's all it was about. It was just going to a big fancy school and jet sitting around and partying. I didn't really realize that even fraternities here didn't know anything about it. So I get down there with this group. Come to find out there's a couple of morning boys there, Bob and Alan Clark. And I knew them. And hey, thanks, what are you? And we got to talking. And so they talked to me about, oh, maybe you should join Lambda Chi. I didn't really think about this. I don't know much about this. I think, when do you have your next fraternity meeting? I'll just come and sit in and see what goes on. No, Clem did it a lot. That's not exactly, this is not Columbus Club. This is not how that works. So they told me all about it and how the fraternity worked and that thing, sort of thing. And I said, what do you have to do? Oh, yeah, I said, $9 a month. I don't think I could afford $9 a month. Well, I figured out that maybe I could, and I was talking to these guys and figured out that maybe they were getting pretty hard up because they actually gave me a big pledge. And back then we were pledges, not associates. And you called the members, Mr. So-and-so, and they called you pledge, so-and-so. Quite a bit different with things right now. So I pledged. And I remember we had one of the first pledge meetings, which was in a separate room, and one of the older members came in and says, all right, let's go. Saturday, 1 o'clock, we're going to have the little 500 race. I'm sure they don't do that anymore, do they, Roy? That's been long gone. Okay. So, but some of you older guys know about that. But, and it was like I guess it was kind of what you would call a soapbox derby type. I didn't know, I had no idea what this was about. And you guys show up out there on there's a road out here with the farm or something that one time didn't pay, but paid for either 1 o'clock. And he started leaving and looked back and says, hey, Riggs, you're going to drive the race car. Oh, are you kidding? Drive a race car? Wow, that is so cool. So we get out there on Saturday, and here they come with this thing. I don't know where they got it. I guess you could kind of call it a race car sort of thing. It was a piece of the chassis of this car was a piece of plywood about this wide, about 4 or 5 feet long, to which was attached a set of wheels that looked like they had fallen off of a 1920s era baby buggy. If they ever had bearings on them, I don't know, but they were pushed this thing, and the wheels kind of reminded me of John Felsen and Bob Gibson coming out of the happy hour at the country club. It's kind of like this in these wheels. And they, to make it look kind of like a car, they found a piece of sheet metal that probably blew off of a house trailer down in Harrisburg, and the hair and tornado dropped it in a ditch or somewhere. And they bent that over the front and nailed it to there and sprayed it back with LXA on it. And that would make it look like a car. Well, in the back, where the propulsion system should be, was a great big wooden bar. And I was looking around and there was no engine. Well, that big bar was for to fit 2 of the biggest, fastest football players that we had. They would push this thing. And they said, all right, Greg, you're the driver, get in that thing. We didn't practice school. I said, get in. And I said, you know what, sir? This doesn't look safe. He said, oh, well, we got a helmet for you. And they had found a World War II era Army helmet liner that they sprayed black with LXA on it. And said, here, put this thing on. And you remember I was talking about the ears? That's what kept this thing from going all the way down to my shoulders. Put this helmet on. He said, get in and drive. Okay, so I did. Of course, there's no seat. No, just sit down. Just sit down on a piece of plywood. I'm looking. There's no brake pedals or nothing. And they said, you don't need any brakes. Shut up and drive. Okay. So I grabbed the wheel. It wasn't connected to anything. It was just there. It just spin on the ball. It wasn't connected. Looking at this foot brake, it won't matter. And it didn't, because when they started pushing that thing, the front wheels were off the ground. And these guys were fast. And it doesn't sound, you're sitting in a comfortable seat. It probably doesn't sound like too much, but when you're blazing down this partly gravel, dirt, paved road full of potholes and rocks and sticks and chickens flying around, and your butt's about this far off the ground, it was scary. I thought it was scary. And we fly down through there, get to the end, they spin this thing around, and I get two new gorillas pushing this thing. It's a relay, and they push it back. And I'm just hanging on for dear life. And I guess I must close my eyes. I think that was my first promise moment. Now, you guys have had a comfortable desk job most of your life, instead of packing front end or even carrying guns and stuff. You may not have had promise moments. I've had several. But this was my first one. And what it amounted to was that right then and there, I promised God, if He let me live, I wouldn't do this. So we get to the end of this thing, and I hope that's the people are taking me, whistling and cheering and spun me around. And they said, we won. Oh, we did? That's great. I thought, that's kind of tacky. We sponsored this event and we won it. And I said, yeah. And I started getting this, sit down, sit down. So they handed me a trophy. As if I had done anything. I was just balanced. I didn't do anything. I was sitting there holding on for dear life. They had me hold this trophy. And I get these 4 big, muscular, good-looking football guys, come up behind me, going to get a picture made, and me with that stupid looking helmet on, sitting in this silly looking car. And I bet Barry Truman Moore took this picture, I'm sure he did. It was not only in the Leader, it was not only in the Arkansas State paper, I think it made the Jonesboro Sun, and I've seen this stupid looking picture, man, I think, oh great. My chances of getting a date have just been set back another 6 months. Well, there was a lot of things happening at college, and it just kind of became a blur. And those of you who are seniors can already appreciate the fact that how fast 4 years of college goes. It was just over in a blur. And that's what happened to me. Suddenly, it was the spring of 1970, just like that. And somebody said the word graduation. I said, wait, I gotta graduate. I can't stay here forever. No, Grace, you you've earned your credits, you have to graduate. I said, I don't think I'm ready to go out in the world and become a responsible adult. I'm just not ready for college. I'm not sure what about and did. Wage earned and pay taxes and all that. Well, too bad you gotta go. And it was like, wow, what do I do? Because I didn't have a plan for life, unfortunately. Fortunately, life had a plan for me as it worked out. So I didn't know what to do because I thought that in my younger years, maybe I'd go to law school. But I did not plan for it. I had not saved for it. I knew I didn't have the money to go back then. And I hadn't even taken the LSAT. So I went home. And after about a day and a half, my dad said, boy, you've got a 4-year college degree. I think it's time for you to get out of this stuff, don't you? Yes, sir. So he gave me $20. We down the Little Rock and find you a job. Okay. So I did. I looked into a job in advertising where I was doing layouts for advertising. You see a lot of them, right? And writing, producing radio and TV commercials, which was an interesting kind of fun job. But I was making $100 a week with a 4-year degree. $100. I was going to start at that. So I took the Federal Service Entrance exam and at a fortuitous time. During this era, there was no security at airports. You could buy a ticket and just walk right into the gate, right on the airplane. Nobody, there's nothing. That's all you had to do. You could have a bazooka on you, and nobody would know. And that was the time when also the fact of hijacking airplanes became kind of a fun thing for a lot of people to do. Seems like about every other plane out of Miami was getting hijacked to Cuba. So Richard Nixon did the second dumbest thing he ever did. He decided he was going to hire 1,000 sky marshals to ride on these airplanes to shoot hijackers. And right as I had taken this test, and so somebody called me from Washington, D.C. and said, Mr. Griggs, would you like a job? What job would that be? Well, it's a customs air security officer. I had no idea what that was. I said, this is paying more than $100 a week. Well, a little bit more, and you get government benefits. I'll take it. That's all I had to hear. So they sent me a ticket, and I went to Fort Belvoir, Virginia, for 4 weeks, not 40, not 40, 4 weeks of school to be a sky marshal. And so they put us in the morning, and in the mornings we would shoot pistols. And surprisingly, I did fairly well. I was hunting with shotguns, so I think I shot this one. But I did really good with that. And then we spent the rest of the morning fighting and doing what's called rest techniques. The afternoons we had classes on law and mostly about how to fill out government paperwork, like voucher and traffic. So anyway, I qualified with this pistol, and it was about this big. It was a Colt Combat, Smith & Wesson 38 Combat Masterpiece, 4-inch barrel, and it was good for 2 things. You could shoot it or pound fence post with it. It was a big, heavy gun. Well, at the time, I weighed about 142 pounds. And so I knew that we were not going to be riding in these airplanes as sky marshals in uniform. We were going to be undercover. So I could put my arms down and said, look, I can't have this great big gun. And I see some of the class, somebody has in the class in front of us, you shoot this little cheap special with 5-shot with a 2-inch barrel thing, and I had that on my small brain. He said, well, that's pretty hard to learn to shoot that. That's pretty tricky. It's really be good. So even though I didn't drink then, I bet him a 6-pack that he couldn't qualify me. Well, he drank, so he qualified me. So, okay, so after 4 weeks, we had a graduation. And they gave us a badge, a set of credentials, an official U.S. passport. They gave us a big wad of travel money. They gave us a sack. There was a piece of spring steel with lead on it, covered with leather. You could hit somebody with it, you needed to do it, it would leave a mark, that thing. And they gave us a real gun with real bullets after 4 weeks. Not a good idea. Anyway, they gave me this pistol. It was not the little 5-shot 38, it was a Colt, big handle, big 6-round cylinder, but with a little 2-inch barrel. I said, I can't, that's not what I should carry. They said, well, we ran out of a little cheap special 5-shots, you're just gonna have to carry this, just make do. All right, so here's your ticket, go to New Orleans, that's your ticket station. Okay, so I go down there, and they said, okay, great, you're gonna be TDY out of San Francisco, you're gonna be flying on Pan Am 747s around the world, and your instructions are that if somebody stands up and hijacks the airplane, you're fired 1 warning shot right there. But do not shoot toward the front of the airplane because you might miss a different pilot. That would not be a good thing. Do not shoot to the back of the airplane. You might hit the control sections back there and make the airplane crash. That's also not a good thing. Do not shoot out the either side of the airplane because you might hit a wing tank or an engine. That would be a really bad thing. You don't want to do that. On the 747, do not shoot up because the cables, control cables run in the ceiling. On the 707, do not shoot down because the control cables run in the floor. Well, what happens if somebody gets up and hijacks the airplane? Shoot one time right there. This did not make sense. So anyway, I said, all right, I'm taking the money all of them. So flew to San Francisco, and we flew all around the world. We flew to Honolulu, Tokyo, Hong Kong, turnarounds, Guam, Manila, Saigon, Vietnam, South Vietnam, during the Vietnam War. And I noticed that everybody there had AR-15s, and I had a little 5-shot 38. So I decided I'd stay near the airport as much as I could. Anyway, so I flew for 2 months to the Skyline School. Fortunately, everything went well. And I reported back into New Orleans because the protocol was to fly for 2 months. And then you could do ground duty for a month. And that meant we would be at the airport working with the customs inspectors, looking for people smuggling dope related or whatever. And we would also do some pre-departure clearances because there's no security there. But they had a setup for high priority, high profile flights that were made in the Caribbean. They would set up a little table, and when men would come from Frisco to make sure they didn't have a gun, and they wouldn't let us frisk their wives. I'm not sure like that. Anyway, we didn't get to do that. We would look in their purse, make sure they didn't have a gun. Okay. And so I remember this young couple, a nice looking young couple, were going to Jamaica or something like that. And so we patted this guy down and didn't have a gun. Her purse, that was good. They had a little kit bag. And I looked in there, couldn't find anything. They had a Marlboro flip-top cigarette box in there. I don't know why I looked in it. I just decided I would. It was a way too small to hide a gun. Flipped it up, and there was some cigarettes in there with filters. We're not trimmed like we're a regular cigarette. Well, that's all right. So I pulled one out, and it was not trimmed at the bottom either. It was twisted on the end. I think they told us something about these kind of cigarettes. So I broke one, and that was not a Marlboro. I said, I think you're under arrest. So I made my first big drug test. 6.5 marijuana cigarettes. Big deal. And so the next day, I guess, So the guy said, hey, the customs agents are going to the fiscal range and you Sky Marshal with it. Oh, yeah, no. So I went down there and I had this little 5-shot 38 that I had got from my boss when I reported in. Okay, I gave him that old big heavy gun, and he went it around in his desk, and he found a little 5-shot 38 that was assigned to him. And he flipped it open and looked at it, and just rats and stuff flew out of it. I don't know how long it had been in his desk. He said, well, let's go back around here. And we had traded, and I had carried that thing all around the world as a challenge. So we went to the firing range, and I started shooting that thing, and it was shooting about this much low and this much wide every shot. Wait, I shoot better than that. So the range officer got it and he benched it. And started shooting it, and he says, where'd you get this gun? It's got a bent barrel. And I was like, I hope things have improved. But anyway, so I gave that back. And then I went and bought my own pistol, which I carried the rest of my career, still have it. So I went through another 2 months around the world with a pistol that would shoot and hit something. Fortunately, I did not have to came back to New Orleans on the ground duty. Reported to the airport, and they said, what are you doing here? I'm Griggs. I'm one of the Sky Marshals. Well, you don't work here no more. Why not? Well, you've been promoted. You are now a U.S. Customs Special Agent. Really? Yeah. They were really impressed with that big drug bust you made when you were here last. And so you've been promoted to a special agent. And I said, well, what do they do? Well, I don't know, but they get a car. Okay. So I went down to the customs office downtown and reported in. I got chewed out for being late for work. And I said, well, what do I do? They said, well, you're now special agent. I said, well, I don't know what to do. I've only been to Sky Marshal school for 4 weeks. Well, what's in the agent school these days? Don't worry about it. Okay, well, what do we do? So, well, we investigate. Okay, what would you like me to investigate? Here's a file. There's a guy that's he's a customs bonded importer, but this guy is importing premises. But he is mislabeling, calling them lipids. And the reason he's doing that is that a Framus has a 10-cent duty, and a lipid has a 20-cent duty, and he's cheating the government out of a dime every time he imports. So I've got to interview this guy. Okay, so how do I get there? You get a car. They gave me a brand new Ford Custom 500. Had a you could even look at the accelerator that part of the tire. So I get parked behind the customs house. I make a block and came out. And it's like I'm not under the boss's window. A guy came out of the cage straight and key on me right under the boss's window. They didn't fire me. I'm not sure why. But as punishment, I got sent to the drug squad. And we chased drug smugglers up and down the customs wash down there in New Orleans. In the summer of 1973, years later, they, those girls looking at you or something, what's on the screen? They did away with the old Bureau of Narcotics and Dangerous Drugs, and brought all those guys up into the new DEA, Drug Enforcement Administration, and they brought all us customs drug guys and some other folks in there. And so I got transferred to Memphis, where I worked undercover, buying heroin on the street of South Memphis. And did that for quite a few years. While I was there, I was able to get in the night program and go to the John Phelps Memorial Law School over at United States. Well, it wasn't really the John Phelps Memorial School. There was a little brass plaque over the portion of the facility in one of the rooms with his name. But, anyway, I guess these are just introductory remarks. Well, my time started yet. So anyway, I had a full career doing that. I wound up in Memphis for 18 years and went to the border station up in Blaine, Washington, and worked with the Mounties, the RCMP for about 5 years, and then went to Anchorage, Alaska, where there was a lot more dope than anybody would think, and finished my career up there. And since then, I since retired, I've become a full-time artist. And you can see my work at bustergroups.com and all those pages. Anyway, as far as advice for you youngsters, and I use that term respectfully. I'm not sure you guys probably know more of it, because you had access to all this information. When we wanted to know something when we were in school back then, we had to go to the library and get a big encyclopedia out. Right now, you can bring your phones up and just pick up and get the information you want. But I would like to I guess, warn you young guys that haven't been around long, because I've noticed things going on, and I don't care if you are a far left liberal or a far right conservative, the news is slanted. It really is, and it depends on which channel you watch, which network you watch. They slant it that way. And well, to give you an example of how that works, I have a little story that about the most famous person in this room right now, Roy Oakert, who was retired from the editor of the Jonesboro Sun. And I know this information is correct because I got this information correct from Harry Truman Moore and John Phelps, so I know it has to be totally accurate. But when Roy retired a few years ago at a much too early age, he was kind of conflicted over what to do. He was like he was lost, because he'd been a journalist for all his career. And so Roy was trying to figure out what to do, and he hit upon the idea that he would write a history of the Oakert family. And so he started doing all this research, and he found a lot of great people in his family, but unfortunately, he discovered that one of his great-grandfathers was a horse dealer, and down in South Texas. And what this great-grandfather would do is he would steal horses and take them across the Rio Grande River and sell them, these horses, to members of the Mexican Revolutionary Army, Pancho Villa's army. And he did quite well with that, made a lot of money, and one night he actually sold some of these stolen horses to this company of Mexican soldiers. He decided he'd be kind of clever, and he did a really gutsy, kind of brave thing. He stole those horses back, took them over to the next district, and sold them again to another company of Mexican soldiers. Well, they figured it out. They figured out what great-grandpa had done. They captured him. And as was the thing to do in the day, they decorated him liberally with tar and feathers and pushed him back across the Rio Grande River where the Texas Rangers were waiting. The Texas Rangers took him to the nearest town, tried him, convicted him of stealing horses and hung him. Well, Roy was conflicted about what to do, because as a true journalist, he had to include this in the family history, because what was there, he couldn't ignore it. And as a true journalist, he knew he had to tell the truth. So I have here a copy of the article that Roy wrote about them. And it goes as follows. Jedediah Oakert was a highly successful South Texas entrepreneur involved in the international trade of prime stock. He was an active participant in Mexico's war for independence, during which his daring exploits resulted in him being highly decorated by General Pancho Villa's Continental Army, as well as being cited by the government of Texas. His life ended all too early when, at a government ceremony being held in his honor, a platform on which he was standing suddenly gave way, and he succumbed to the injuries received in the fall. So when you hear the news, let's sit back and understand and see where it's coming from. As far as any other advice to young guys, I can stand here and give you all kinds of advice, but if you're in this room, any advice I would give you is probably preaching to the choir. Because if you guys are in this room, excuse me, I saw all the 3 points and 3.5s and 4 points here. You guys are leaders. You're leaders on campus, and so many of you, especially younger alumni, are leaders in your community. And I've seen this, because I've seen some of the publicity that you got because of some of, for example, some of the charity work. The feed the food basket, I forget the name of the program that you guys have contributed to, Arkansas Children's, and to St. Jude's. And St. Jude's has kind of a soft spot for me because it was just down the street a little ways from where my office was in Memphis for many years. When I first got to Memphis in '73, St. Jude's was pretty much in its infancy and was just getting started. And their success rate as far as survival rate for those little kids was, I think, it was single digits. Today, I think it's, somebody give me a number, 90-something%. 90, somebody out probably knows. And that's because of the research that's been done over there. And that research has been made possible because of the fundraisers that's been done by the guys, collective guys, their wives and girlfriends who participate. And I'd like to say that I'm very proud of you guys who have done all of that. You've done a lot of great work, and it makes me proud to be associated with the leaders, guys who have and are going to be and are leaders in the community. You've stepped out, you're paying it forward, and I'm glad to be associated with you. I'm glad to be a Lambda Chi. Cherry Wonka, really boy. You heard all that Cherry Wonka? That was smart next door. I've got some tokens of our appreciation because it took you a long time to get here, 14 or 15 months ago. And he changed his flight plan 3 times. So we got a few mementos so you remember. One, most importantly, you've got to have letters. Not red these. Yeah. You got to have a red one. There's a red one. Yahoo! Thank you. This is the most special one, but we actually did this more than 14 or 15 months ago. And all the guys, some of whom are still around, signed a copy of the coat of arms. And many of them were already graduated because we did this a long time ago. But a few of us alumni also signed it. And there's a little bit of room left, so some of these guys may want to sign it.
I'll be honored. Yeah. Thank you.
And then finally, ASU sent this over. This is a copy of the ASU story, celebrating our first century in Raise the Past, 1909, 2009. They're giving these away because they couldn't sell them. But it is a good book. And in fact, they brought me 2 cases of them. So if any of you folks want a copy of this book, and it's a good book.
$5.95.
No, they're free. There's a case outside the door by the table, and there's a case right up here. So first come, first served. But the first one goes to our speaker, Lord Green. God bless you.
Yeah. Let me just say I'm Barry Forrest, and I'm president of the Alumni Association.
how many times now? Several times. We'll give you a little update on fundraising. Let me just give you a little background of the house because Brother Gibson's here and he stood behind us when we built this house. 1985, we acquired a loan for $250,000 from Brother Gibson's lending institution because nobody else would touch us with a 10-foot pole. And I think he required, I think it was 10 of us to sign a note. Is that right, Bob? I'm glad to hear that when he left the institution, that note disappeared somewhere. None of us had any money. But that loan was $250,000. But by the time we think we finished the house, we were up to $282,000. And later on, we added to the loan. And get this, is 1985. So in 2004, the loan, we combined them, and so we still owe $346,000. So we've been gone and paid interest and interest and interest, and we never paid any principal. In 2019, we had a meeting. Brother Stratton was there, and I stood up. Remember this? And I said, we're going to pay for this house this year. And the reason I did that was because I told Roy that I've been on the board since 1984, and I was wanting to get off. And he said, well, you can get the house paid for and you can get off. Well, in 2019, we did a retire the mortgage at our Founders Day meeting. Brother Stratton was there, and I made a promise to him that I was going to try to do that with the other alumni. And with raised about $40,000, we had payments down. And there's always one brother that opens his mouth that wants to be a big dog. And it happened to be Brother Edward Jackson, who was in my associate class. And he said to Pete at a meeting one time, he said, hey, when you get that down to $5,000, he said, call me and I'll write you a check. So Pete told me that, and I said, well, when I was president of Eternity, Edward was my treasurer. And as you all know, Joel, you know that the treasurer is probably one of the most hated guys in eternity. But Edward was great at it. He didn't care who hated him. But anyway, so Edward wrote a check for $5,000 to pay the house off. And in October 2020, we held the mortgage burning ceremony at the house. A lot of you watched it on the computer. I was really proud of that. But one of the other things that I want to just say that our fundraising campaign in 2008 raised $10,000. Brother Stratton, you were probably here when we did the high five for Lambda Chi. Our house was totally terrible. It was almost unlivable. You think it is now, it was really unlivable then. But so I went to Roy and I said, Roy, let's do a high five for Lambda Chi. And I had a little poster made with a thermometer on it. He said, what are you going to put on that thermometer? I said, $150,000. He said, you're crazy. And I said, okay. So I'm proud to say that when we did that 2010, we had only 160 alumni donate to that. We raised over $200,000. We remodeled the house then in 2010. So now the house is paid for. So what we've had is we've had a tremendous success with the fraternity and all you young gentlemen out there, paying the rent on time and giving us access to where we have money to where we could keep the house up at a standard rate. Now that the house is paid for, we do have extra money, and our plans are already, we installed Wi-Fi in the whole house, which every room down has Wi-Fi. We secured the house with locks on the doors that you have to have a key to get in or a card to get in. Roy's never given me one. We rebuilt both decks outside,
We rekeyed all the residential floor, we put new flooring in the game room upstairs. And how many are coming tomorrow? You're gonna see the most exciting thing in the world, okay? We're gonna have no more fist cleanup with their initiation, okay? We have no blinds in the party room that are electric. They come up, they go, they come up, they go down. I've seen it on video, it looks really great. But we're starting to show that we care about these guys, and we're able to do this. One of the other things that was a major accomplishment for us was we put a camera system in the house. There's a lot of things since we put the camera system in that's made Kelly Davis really happy. Some of y'all don't know him as good as others do. Right, Kevin? Kevin and him are on first name basis. But the camera system has helped us out a lot. Our next goal is to start renovating the rooms. We discussed this at our last meeting. Let me say, when you bring something up about renovating the rooms and changing things, you really have a good attendance from the membership. And believe me, guys, we appreciate that. We really do. We want to hear how you feel about it. Because at y'all's house, we're just paying for it, okay? But our goal is to renovate the first floor this summer. And then next year, renovate the top floor of the rooms and make them like brand new rooms, put new furniture, new beds, new doors, everything. It's the most amazing thing in a fraternity house how doors disappear, okay? Doors disappear and go nowhere. We don't know where doors are, but the other thing that I want to mention on fundraising is we did start with our campaign, the Purple, Green, and Gold campaign. This is a year-to-year pledge by the alumni. We have 3 separate groups. One's 500, one's 250, one's 125. And we try to send out notices about this every year so everyone can donate. This is another way that we're going to continue to renovate the rooms and keep the air conditioners going and try to keep the window units out of all windows. But I would like to say thank you to the alumni that are here. We've done a lot in the last 10 years, and I think it's accountable to the ones that are here, plus the ones that couldn't be here. A little thank you for Jeff Wicker back there for keeping us out of the penitentiary, with our taxes and all that. But once again, thank y'all very much. I'm going to try to cut this short for your donations and keeping up with what's going on in fraternity. And I just say, Wendell, by God, we did it, and I'm proud for it. Thank you.
Thank you, Barry. Well, we'll give him another round of applause. I'm Kevin Mulder, and I'm currently serving in the Iota advisory role. And although that has given me a few more gray hairs, I'm honored to serve in that capacity. We have a great group of actors. They do amazing things in our community. They are feed the hungry. They have food drives. They raise money for veterans. They do a lot of good things. And I would like to, for all of you to stand up and recognize your accomplishments, because you have done an outstanding job this year. Would stand up and just. Each year, around November, each year, a new group of officers are elected for a one-year term. During that term, from January 1st to December 31st, they have various roles. All of those roles are very important. From the top to the bottom, they're all important.
And each, since the 1950s, they have managed to keep it going and making sure our turning runs like it's supposed to. And this year, I would like to introduce the 2021 officers. However, as you know, 2020 was a rough year, and I do not want to overlook those officers who served in 2020. If you were an officer in 2020, you would stand up. With my own to introduce the officers of Alpha Theta Zeta 2021. I will go. You will stand and stand. I Theta. George Lopez. Alex Robles. Joe Gaffney. Jack Stapleton. Justin Neighbors. Greg Robertson. Preston Shockman. Clay Arelli. Cassie Pringle. Caden Mia. Thank you, appreciate it. I would like to welcome Will Scobie to the stage. He is our current president, and he is going to present the chapter awards. Will he gets it from all sides. He gets to hear me, hear the university talk, he hears headquarters talk, hears alumni talk, House Corporation, Alumni Corporation. He hears it all. He does an amazing job. He's a true leader, and he has kept us currently intact since he's been elected. So, thank you, Will.
All right, so first things first, I'd like to speak on behalf of myself and the entire chapter when I say it is an immense honor for us to be here with all of you alumni and your guests tonight. It's been a rough year, but we're all very glad to be here tonight. So can I just get one quick round of applause for him? Now, as Roy alluded to earlier, this is our first Founders Day in well over a year. Due to the pandemic last year, we weren't able to put one on and have one. So what I'm going to do now is present 2020's Pro Girl Court Awards as well as the Officer Awards from 2020. And then I'll move on to the Officer Awards and Pro Girl Awards for this year. So when I call your name, please come forward and get your award. If you're not here, you're not here. All right. So first of all, for our 2020 Pro Girl Court, we have Anna Strack. We have Amy Stotts. We have Casey Smith and Peyton Beeson. We have Jessica Hornsby and Katie Little. Our 2020 Crossing Crescent Girl was Alexa Floyd. And now for our 2020 Officer Awards, start off with our High Delta, Drew Grable. Our High Theta last year, Owen Lobble. Our High Sigma, Q Miller, our High Epsilon, Cole Duncan. Our High Rho, Tyler Hickman. Our High Iota, one Tom Cornwell. And of course, our High Pi, Kevin Mulder. And now we'll move into our 2021 Officer Awards. We've got our High Kappa, Mr. Justin Neighbors. Our High Beta, Giacomo Barnello. Our High Delta, Mr. Drake Robertson. Our High Theta, Mr. George Lopez. Our High Phi, Preston Shockley. Our High Gamma, the great Alex Robles. Our High Sigma, Clay O'Reilly. Our Money Man, Mr. Joe Gaffney. Our High Epsilon, Cassie Pringle. Our High Iota, Jack Stapleton. Our High Rho, and everyone take a note so you don't mess it up, Mr. Kate Ian. And finally, back again, don't know what we would do without this guy. I really cannot say enough good things about him, what he does for our chapter, and just our community as a whole, Mr. Kevin Mulder. Now, the moment you've all been waiting for, our 2021 Pearl Gold Award. First of all, we've got Anna Stratt. Jessica Hornsby, Emily Norman. Got Katie Little. Rachel Stutter. Kelly Chisholm. Caroline Woodard. And finally, our 2021 Cross and Crescent Girl, Amy Stotts. I would just like to say congratulations to our 2021 Pearl Girl Court. And again, I'd like to thank everybody for coming out tonight. It's been a lot of fun.
Annually, usually we give out 2 alumni awards. And one of those is the Warren Employee Distinguished Service Award. And I cannot go without saying his name without thanking him for his service for what all he has done. He was my high five when I went through, and he was a mentor to all of us. Thank you. Getting that tomorrow. Tonight, I will be presenting the Roy Oakford Service Award. This award is a little more personal for me because he and I actually started a journey together, and he's been a friend of mine for a long time. So I'm not going to tell stories, and the reason why I'm not going to tell stories is he can tell stories about me. And I particularly do not need that right now. Tom Fallon knows that. So we have to work with the law. So anyway, I will stick to the script, but it is an honor for me to present this tonight. Many and varied talents are necessary to make an organization like ours successful. And one of those talents is the ability to work with numbers, especially numbers with dollar signs in front of them. Our recipient this year is a numbers man, Jeff Wood. Jeff was in high school and was initiated in 1992 as Zeta number 843. He graduated from ASU with a Bachelor of Science degree in accounting in 1994. After becoming a certified public accountant, he joined the accounting firm of Thomas Spate Noble in 1999. And he has been there ever since as a managing partner. He is married to Debbie. They have 5 children. Jeff's service to the attorney is indispensable. He keeps us out of trouble with the IRS. All of our corporations in the chapter are nonprofit and therefore don't pay taxes. We must file various forms each year showing our revenue and expenses. He has done that for us for more than 10 years. That is sometimes a challenge, especially the chapter, because we have a new treasurer every year. And there's always a learning curve as we bring a new high tall in. But he's willing to serve as a mentor to that high tall and make sure that his advice is available. Although the work for the chapter, House Corporation, now Alumni Corporation, requires time and expertise, Jeff never charges to that. Jeff, would you come forward and accept this award? Thank you. He does an amazing job here. I recognize him. They do a lot for a turn. Thank you.
So we're in red shirt. I'm here to close this out, folks. It's been a great night. Again, this is a fabulous place to have this. It's been really, really nice. I hope everybody can hear, just heard everything except our cheerleaders out there. But we do appreciate your time and appreciate everyone coming out, the actives and your lovely days. We're glad you're here. We're glad you can make it. We're glad it worked out. And for our alumni that are here, we know that you can be doing a lot of other things tonight, sleeping or Wheel of Fortune. I didn't think that was a great one. Anyway, go in peace. Enjoy the rest of your evening. They tell me there's a cash bar still outside that door. Who should go out there? Not you guys, these guys. So have a great rest of your evening, and we will see you back here in a year. And we'll see you in the morning at 10:30. We have a short house court meeting followed by lunch, and very real short. So if you would care to join us for that in the morning at 10:30, we'd love to have you at the house. And you can see some of the improvements that have been going on and see some of the things that we still want to accomplish. Thank you so much for coming.